All right, so I'd like to welcome our first panel. Come on out. So the first panel is going to be discussing government grants. So we have on the panels, we have Judy Cerisa. She is the program manager for the government grants. We have Ryan Middleton, special assistant to the chief of staff. And we have Jennifer Colton. She's director of the grant office for this state. So welcome, everyone. Let's give them a nice welcome and round of applause. And so with this panel, I'm going to sit down and be a little casual. We wanted to kind of share some information on the state level and federal level and with what's happening locally. So why don't we start off, we'll start right here. Jennifer, do you want to share with us your microphones? Go ahead and pick up your microphones, and I think there's a button. Let's see how this works. There we go. There we go. You're welcome. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what your office does, and a little bit about the grant process that are available for our nonprofits, to share a little bit about what you have in your office.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Jennifer Colton, and I've been the director of the Governor's Grants Office for just under 2 years now. And like the county executive, when I got into this role and started to, meet with the community and engage with our constituents, I realized that there was something missing from the engagement in our office, that we had been in existence for about 13 years at that point, and most people didn't know that we existed. Nobody knew how to reach us. Our website was fairly outdated, so there was a lot that I felt like we could do to better engage. So since that time, I've spent, a significant portion of my activities going out, doing similar workshops. I've done a few things for Congressman Brown in the past in this particular area, and visiting, site visits, coming out to see what you're working on, what kind of programs do you have, and what are your needs, so that I can partner with you and collaborate on ideas and resources, etc. To that end, we have a number of resources, training, and grant opportunities. Our office specifically isn't a grant-making agency, so I don't award grants from my office, but I do have a network of points of contact and established grants representatives in all of our state agencies, and so during our discussions and when we meet, when I get, your calls and emails, I kind of work with you to better understand what you're looking for and partner you with the appropriate agency, or, help do some research. The grant making process currently in the state is kind of decentralized, so each state agency has their own process right now. We are taking steps within our office and across the state to streamline and make efficient those processes. So there will be more to come as far as the streamlining and application process. But I do have some materials out front. I'll be around for most of the day. I'm happy to chat with anyone about specific questions or resources that we have available. I suggest that you check out our website. And I see a few familiar faces in the audience. They could probably attest to some of the hands-on approach that I've taken in this office, and I'm happy to help any of you as needed.
Thank you so much. Just a show of hands, how many nonprofits here have applied for state grants? Oh, that's great. And how many in the audience are wanting to but don't know how, or find the process a little bit daunting? Everybody?
Everybody.
Okay, good. So we want you to visit the table, get the information, go to the website. I know you and I have had quite a bit of conversation of how we can share the information, and there might be opportunities where there's some synergies where we can partner or the not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we're working on our end to try to make the information more readily available. So thank you so much for sharing what you've shared.
No problem.
Can you share a little bit about the federal? I went onto the website, and I have to tell you, I was a little daunted. Okay, and so when I'm answering questions, I'm also struggling, and I'm trying to find ways of how do we organize some of this information to really get it to our nonprofits. Can you share a little bit about how we can do that?
Yes. So, is this on?
Yes, it's
okay.
on.
So, I work in the grants.gov management office where we support the website where all the federal grant making departments go to post their federal grant funding opportunities, and where applicants such as yourselves can go to search the website to look for grant funding opportunities that you are potentially eligible for. So what I would say, the number one thing you need to do is become familiar with the website itself. There are lots and lots of opportunities posted there. And there are ways that you can refine your search when you're on the site to narrow down some of the topics. You can use a keyword search as for an example. You can narrow your search down to a particular grant funding agency, a funding type. You can select nonprofit as one of your criteria. There's lots of ways to search the site. We also have on our site, on the footer of every page, we list the help desk number. The help desk number is available for applicants. There's also an email there, and the folks on the other end of that help desk can help you with anything you need to know about using the site. We also do a lot of grant trainings for people such as yourselves that are looking for grant funding opportunities, and we usually meet up with folks like yourselves at many congressional grant workshops and so forth, where we see a lot of nonprofit applicants. There is a registration process, and I think that can be daunting. There's a lot of information on our site. There are, I guess I shouldn't say this, but there's sort of tricks to the trade. Once you get familiar with the site and you find available opportunities or potential opportunities, you can dig further through the website itself where the opportunities are posted to find contacts at particular agencies that can give you more information about how to prepare your application, especially if you have any questions. Really, this site was set up 15 years or so ago to provide a one website where all the discretionary grant funding opportunities are available for you to find and to apply for. Again, that's a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of traffic on our site, and it can be pretty overwhelming, but I encourage you to hang in there, stick with it, and become as familiar as you can with searching for opportunities as well as the registration process. And again, everything that I'm talking about and more, lots more, can be found on the website. We have training videos and so forth that will walk you through each step in the process. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback from those videos and so forth.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. I know we talked about sharing some of the PowerPoints or some of the links onto our websites for our guests, so we will follow up and absolutely do that. Ryan Middleton, thank you for joining us. Can you talk a little bit about the LDC grants that we have here in the county? I know the grant is about to open up. Can you share a little bit about what's going on there?
Sure. Once again, my name is Ryan Middleton. I serve as the Special Assistant to the County Executive's Chief of Staff. And one of my primary responsibilities is serving as the liaison to our local development council here in Prince George's County. And the local development council was created to serve as a community sort of input council to sort of counter the effects of the establishment of MGM National Harbor, the new casino in our county. And they are there to provide community input into how the revenues that are derived from the MGM casino are spent within the 3-mile radius of the MGM National Harbor Casino. And one of the other things that they're able to do is also they have a grant process where they award up to $50,000 to area nonprofits that will be providing services within the 3-mile radius of the MGM National Harbor Casino. And I think I see our LDC chair, Reverend Jeffrey Chandler, in the audience. That's him right there. He's the chair of our LDC.
Can you stand up? We don't see you. Give him a round of applause. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming, sir. And I'm also able to report that our LDC application for fiscal year 2020 is live right now. It just went live, so if you're able to visit the Prince George's County LDC website, you can check out the application. You can see if you're able to provide services within the 3-mile radius of the MGM National Harbor to that greater National Harbor community, then we want to hear from you. We want to see if you can provide services, and we welcome your application. And the application, once again, is now live.
Okay, so it's live. I think you shared with me that the last round there was some money left because we didn't get enough applications. Is that correct?
Yes, and one of the few times where there's actually money left.
There was money on the table, people.
Yes. So we want to get as many applications as possible. We want to make Reverend Chandler as busy as possible reviewing applications. So please, if you're able to provide and qualified to provide services within that 3-mile radius, we want you to apply, and we want to give out as much money as we possibly can.
Wonderful, thank you. As it pertains to the community partnership grants that we run in the county, I just wanted to share a couple of things. Our grant process just closed on Friday, and we received a little under 200 applications. And what was really exciting is everybody made it in before 5 o'clock, so we didn't have to turn anybody away, which was huge. And as our county executive mentioned, we have had a complete change of process. And so it is very objective, transparent. There are multiple checks and balances, which is very different from previous years. But a lot of the spirit behind that is our county executive really wanted to bring our grant-making process up to national standards. We wanted to be able to stand behind our process and be able to demonstrate the impact of our $1.6 million so that we could be able to measure and articulate that, with this $1.6 million, these are the things that have happened, and this is why we need the additional $2 million. And so part of the arduous process of changing and implementing this process has really been able to give us the resources and the numbers and statistics that we need to advocate for more funding, to really best represent our nonprofit community for partnerships and open them up for being better qualified to pair up with state grants, government grants, private sector grants, which we'll hear later on. Corporate foundations ask us all the time, well, can you demonstrate what's already being done? And so we've been, my partner and I, Ms. Curry, I don't see her, we've been, really hitting the streets and talking to corporate partners, trying to find ways that we can maybe leverage our dollars to see if we can increase those dollars. But the measurement piece is a really key piece of that to be able to demonstrate why we need it. And so so it's been an exciting process. I know internally when our county executives charge us, we have a committee. I see Sonia sitting in the front seat. We have numerous members of our staff who participate in this process. Our Office of Community Relations is a big part. So they actually open the applications and make sure everything's in place. and then we go to the finance department and make sure all of the financials are in place, and all of this is recorded. We have evaluators that are being trained in subject matter, so we separate our applications in categories, so like legal services, youth sports, health, and we have evaluators who have some relevancy in those areas. And so we're trying to find ways to help our nonprofits better qualify for other grants. And so one of the conversations we've had is trying to help the nonprofits who have not yet done the Standards of Excellence with Maryland nonprofits to go through that process. Because one of the things I hear, and I don't know if you can jump in and share what you hear from our corporate partners in particular in our private sector, is they want to hear about the financial management, the business side of the nonprofits. How are they being managed? And so we're trying to find ways to help articulate that to our partners. And so what recommendations do you have for our nonprofits here in terms of things that they can be doing to better qualify, maybe get extra points on the applications or networking to really help increase their chances of being seen? Is the networking and the contact important? Is it just following the process, or is it getting it early? What can you recommend to help our nonprofits have a better chance of getting some of these grants? We'll start with you.
I think you bring up some very good points, and I think we've talked about this in our discussions over the last several months. The partnership, not only with the funder or the grant-making agency, but also understanding what the landscape looks like in the area in which you're trying to provide this support is also helpful. So there could be opportunities for you to partner with other organizations who have successfully applied to the state or to the feds or these private funders and learn and share from those experiences. I'm sorry, I forget your name. No. Ryan. I remember your last name. Sorry. As Ryan mentioned, having money left on the table, that's the worst thing that we as a funder or a grantor could have. I mean, the whole point is to use these dollars to impact the community in these positive ways. It doesn't do any good if we aren't giving it out, right? So we want to see you be successful. We want to see your applications be excellent and have, I guess the misfortune of having too many great opportunities to choose from. I mean, that she can argue now that they need this additional money, and eventually, those statistics help drive the increase in the funds. So I'd say that, to increase your partnership and collaboration with your local government, with me in the state level, like I mentioned, connecting you with other state resources is something that my office does all the time. I think I had this event posted on our website. I've been talking about it for several weeks. So attending things like this where you're gonna gain some information, you're gonna learn a little bit. You need to take these things that everyone is sharing with you today and really try to work this into how your business model, into your grant applications, because honestly, we've all spent, we came out here today, we're all investing this time because we want to see you guys be successful. We want as much money to reach this county and this state as we can bring. The things like this are cyclical, so you have to stay on top of what's available. So making those connections with these grant makers to kind of get that heads up, to know that these opportunities are coming so that you can plan accordingly. They're time consuming. That's one of the issues, that most people suggest about grant applications is it takes so much time, you don't have enough resources, you're a small nonprofit, and I get all that. Part of my effort in streamlining and efficiency is to relieve some of that burden. But to help yourself to be better prepared on leveraging your nonprofit considering it as a business and really what you can offer, what you're planning to provide, and be able to articulate that in a way that resonates with, the folks making these decisions is really important. So we had our conference a couple of weeks ago. It was packed full of other, opportunities for learning and education. If you go to our website, we have additional training opportunities that I find that are available all over the state. So as writing workshops or how to expand your board or diversify your board or how to fundraise. Anything I can find that is grant related that can assist you in some way, I try to post those opportunities on our website. So there are things like this. This is a great event. I'm excited that they've been able to pull this off, and I'm proud to be here. Really, PG County has one of the highest concentrations of nonprofits. I'm sorry. Prince George is my fault. I'm born and raised here. I'm a native Marylander. Sorry, I've been calling it PG all my life. Sorry. Prince George is my fault. No disrespect, obviously. So however I can help bring these resources to you, collaborate, like I said, we want to see you be successful in your applications and in your programs. This is an important area for us as far as outreach is concerned, so we're here to help.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Did you want to share a few words?
Well, I just want to say that I ditto to both of them. Everything that they said is very, very true. Networking is extremely important, especially for the nonprofit community. We have attended so many of these types of conferences, and you all are some of the most appreciative people that we ever get an opportunity to speak to face to face. Again, like I said, become familiar as you can with the website, and networking definitely helps. Collaborating with other people interested in the same areas of work that you are involved in is extremely important. And don't give up. And I'm really impressed that you received 200 applications on time, because that's huge.
I was floored because last year we do follow the process because we want everybody. So we do close the doors at 5 o'clock, and we didn't have to turn anybody away this year, unless they came at 6 o'clock and we weren't there. But that was nice because that's something we never really want to do.
Oh, yeah, and that does happen a lot because there's a lot of details you have to remember, and people always wait till the last minute. So, go to grants.gov. It's www.grants.gov and start searching. Find out what you need to do to register. If you find opportunities that you're interested in, the registration can take some time, so you want to make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to do that. Or if you can't do it yourself, maybe somebody that works in your office or wherever, you can also set up a subscription to receive notifications when opportunities open. We have opportunities posted on our site that we call as forecasts, which will give you information about opportunities that may not be open at the moment, but that the agency foresees in the future. And it will give you information about what it is they're looking for in a grant application, as well as closed and archived opportunities. So you can look back and see, well, what did the EPA or the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families award back in 2012. So there's a lot of stuff on the site. It's crowded. It can be daunting, but we're working on actively improving your user experience.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Ryan, did you want to add anything? I don't think we can hear you.
Can you
There
hear?
you go.
Sure. As it relates to the LDC's grant application, before we start accepting before the due date, we start accepting the applications, we always do a application workshop. So anyone who has any questions about the application can come in. We have Amelia Williams here from our Office of Management and Budget, who conducts the application workshop, and they go page by page by page, line by line. So if you have any questions about our application, we're able to answer them, to make sure that you submit the most complete application possible. So then we're judging your application on the quality and not necessarily the minimum requirements. In addition to that, the LDC actually has its meetings on the third Wednesday of every month. So you're free to come and speak to the members of the LDC, to talk to them about what they're looking for in an application. You're free to, the LDC also conducts sort of recaps with previous grant recipients. So you'll be able to see presentations from previous grant recipients about what they're doing in the area. That'll also give you an approximation of what the LDC is looking for in organizations to whom it gives grants. And you'll also be able to talk to those organizations to see what kind of work they're doing, to see if there may be an opportunity to partner, or what have you. So there's a lot of opportunity, specifically with the LDC, to make sure that you submit the best possible application and that you present yourself as the best possible candidate for its grants process.
Wonderful, thank you. So before we close, a couple of things. You may have been given index cards when you came in, because we're not going to be able to take all the questions, but we are going to collect them and post all the responses. We may have time for a couple of questions. How we do? Okay, good. So in closing with the community partnership grants, as I said, our grant process has just closed. But recommendations for next year, when our evaluators are looking at the applications, we really want the narrative to not only speak about the need of the funds, but the impact and the value that you're adding to the community, because that really helps us advocate for you. So what impact are you having? What's the narrative? We always talk about our nonprofits, and you'll hear this a lot today, to really think of the nonprofit as a business that doesn't get to keep the profits. So the business side of the nonprofit is incredibly important, because there's so many nonprofits that come through our application, I'm sure you guys experience this as well, who are doing such phenomenal work, and they can't get through the financial piece just because they just don't have enough staff to kind of go through all the details. But those pieces are so incredibly important in order for our organizations to be able to grant the funds. And so really making sure your I-90s are turned in, you have your audits, your books are being kept. It's really worth that investment. There are a number of organizations here like Maryland Nonprofits, and I know the Center for Nonprofit Advancement does a couple of classes on the business side of the nonprofit, because I think a lot of our nonprofits don't get through that clearing for very simple reasons. It's just not that they're not doing it, it's just not recorded properly. So that's something I really would like to stress to really pay attention to. And the third thing that really helps with our applications too, if you're collaborating with somebody, if you're partnering up with another nonprofit, because it helps our dollars go a little bit further. And so, so part of the spirit of today is really, I think there's an actual panel on collaboration and how to work together that really does help. You know, ever since 2008, when the economy crashed and Fannie Mae went down, the resources in the whole sector has just kind of had this domino effect with funding. And so nonprofits have really had to come up with new ways and to think about how to partner and fund the organization. So anyway, so I just want to put those tidbits out there for next year's application. We will do a workshop next year. Our community partnership grants page is on the county executive website. We are working right now to update it and link a lot of what you're hearing today and put our partners links on there so that eventually our website becomes a portal of information for our nonprofit community. I think we have time for 2 questions. Does anybody have a question that, okay, I'm going to pass the microphone.
Good morning. I have 2 questions, but I think the first one will be a quick yes or no. Do you provide or offer grants to help smaller grant-making nonprofits, not service-providing nonprofits, but smaller foundations funding that they can then distribute?
Is that directed to me or?
The 3 of you that offer grants.
Our grants are primarily for 501c3 service providers, direct service providers who have been in operations for a minimum of 2 years.
Okay.
And so at the state level, because our office is not a grant-making agency, those requirements are specific to the programs within each of the agencies. On our website, we kind of streamline the grants that are available across the state. If you look there, you'll see a listing of all that's available. It's very searchable. You can try to see how what you're trying to accomplish kind of lines up with that. In my opinion, it sounds more like foundation or private money might be kind of the route that you might want to take.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to add is our county council also has grants, so you should reach out to your council members, and they have a series of grants, and I know there's a domestic violence grant, and each council member has their own grants, and they have different criteria, so that would be questions directed to them directly.
Delegations too.
Delegations too.
Yeah, legislatively, the General Assembly, certain delegations, there's money at different levels as well. Obviously, not all of those are represented here today.
Okay, and Jennifer, I was just asked to ask you what your website is.
Grants.maryland.gov, and Maryland is spelled out.
And then for the county grants, we'll have Miss Amira, can you stand up, please? This is one of our unsung heroes. She is the guru of the financial side of our grants and has been with us for some time. She's going to be on a table outside, so if you have questions about the community partnership grants or the county, she can really help answer your questions or direct you. Thank you, Amira, for being here. Okay. Do we have another question?
Good morning. Question for Jennifer. Can you talk a little bit about the Community Investment Tax Credit Program? I think that might be of interest to people here.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
The
Can't see you
Community
either.
Investment Tax Credit Program is an opportunity where the more money that we're able to raise, that can be matched by others, and so they would be able to get a tax credit by making donations to our nonprofits. And I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because it would be a great opportunity for people to know about.
I agree. I don't have a whole lot of information on that, though. So when I get back to Diana with an answer, and she can post that along with some of the responses to the questions that you guys have submitted, but I'll definitely follow up to provide some information on the tax credit.
Yeah, we'll definitely follow up with that. I don't have the answer, but we'll definitely get it up and posted and emailed out to everyone who RSVP'd for this event. How are we doing on time? Are we ready to introduce our next panel? Any additional questions, if you could write them on the card and make sure they're collected by one of the volunteers who are walking around or turning them in at a table outside, that would be great. And I'd like to thank our panel. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's an effort on everyone's time to be here for a full day, but I think the information is just so valuable. We really do appreciate your partnership and your time and all the efforts that you're doing for our nonprofit community. Thank you so very much. Give them a round of applause, please. Thank you.